Hello, I'm Jordan Dollar-Coltman. I'm with Elliot Tanti and Braden Dollar-Coltman. You're listening to Hat Trick. Thank you for joining us this week. We're going to talk some sports. Elliot, before we get to that, though, I do have to ask you this. Is it true that in the room you're sitting in right now, there is a giant painting of General Mao?
Yeah, I believe it was Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao. Well, General first, I suppose.
But yeah, we're big Maoists in this show.
It has certainly not been the start that they or any of their fans had been hoping for. We talked a little bit about this last week, but really it's only been 2 weeks so far. And I guess the question is this, Braden, is it too early to be hitting, or are you, along with everyone else in oil country, already starting to worry?
No, it's too early. I mean, I'm always worried as an Oilers fan. So what's new? It's too early though. They're just writing the script, you guys. This is just how this season's going to begin. They're writing the script. They're getting it going.
You got that right, Braden. That is how the season is going to begin.
just gonna start like that. Unfortunately, I could have lived with the start that they had. What I'm not all that thrilled with is losing Mr. 97 for a week or two here. I think that's a bigger issue.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, Elliot, when you heard the news that Connor McDavid was injured, first thoughts and sort of what do you think this means early in the season for a team that's already struggling? How could this be affecting them, or how will this affect them?
I think this is a real opportunity for the team. I think for a long time, this team's been driven by Connor McDavid, and the expectation is that, Connor McDavid does something sensational and everyone falls in behind. And sometimes we get secondary scoring and sometimes we don't. And sometimes him and Leon Draisaitl put up 6 points each, and that's how they win the game. I mean, this is an opportunity for Leon Draisaitl, Evander Kane, Zach Hyman, Connor Brown, any number of people on this team to step up, because you're losing the best player in the world, and it's obviously going to be impactful, and you're not going to have that superstar sort of feel. But here's an opportunity for the team to play like a normal team and, defense and, not have someone other than 97 score goals. It's a real opportunity for this team, and they should take advantage of it.
So obviously, there's a couple narratives playing out here. One is we don't really know what the injury is. I think what we observed last game was that it clearly was somewhere in the lower back to sort of hip area. It was tricky to identify the exact moment of contact that may have caused that injury, but certainly not a joint. As far as we can tell, it didn't look like it was the hip so much as above the hip and into the back. But obviously, back is not ideal either. I guess the question is, Braden, they've identified it as sort of a 1 to 2 week thing. The narrative obviously immediately turns, oh my God, he's not going to play the Heritage Classic. Elliot identified a couple players he feels are going to have to pick up the slack with McDavid out of the lineup. My question to you, Braden, is not who do you think needs to do that, but who do you think will?
Oh gosh, who will?
Yeah, who do you think will pick up that slack?
I think the likely candidates lie within the centers, being Draisaitl and Nuge. I think, like Tanti said, there's a big opportunity here. Nuge has that experience playing center. He's played a lot of wing here with McDavid and Draisaitl taking on most of that load. I do think Nuge, and also Hyman. Hyman's been a very steady guy for the Oilers for a long time, and I think that's going to be an opportunity where he can really step into that. Not only are they missing the leadership on the ice, but they're missing the leadership that Connor brings to every single game throughout the games. And I think they're going to need to find personnel that will be able to talk to the players the way that that they're going to be missing.
Now, the other obvious sort of glaring storyline so far this season has been goaltending. It's been a question mark for a while with this team. Obviously, last year we watched Stuart Skinner really step forward and become the guy, and slowly had developed his game. And that last season was kind of the welcome to the NHL moment for him. He had a fantastic season, even through some of the ups and downs, but he really took the lead, stole the net away from Jack Campbell, who had signed a massive deal, and now, put himself in a position going into the playoffs last season where he was the starting goaltender. Now, so far this season, you can tell that Woodcroft is trying to get a bit more balance between those two guys, give them both an opportunity to get hot. We've seen flashes of improvement from Campbell. He's had games where we're clearly more comfortable than he was last season. And we've also seen perhaps some performance so far from Skinner that was unlike what we saw last year, where he was just Mr. Consistent. Elliot, I'll ask you kind of a similar question I would ask at the very beginning. Is it too early to be panicking on these goaltenders? Because certainly that is one of the storylines you're going to get a lot if you were to turn on, any of the current Edmonton media sort of narrative. There's they really want to dig in on these goaltenders. They really want to sort of ask, is there a goaltending crisis in Edmonton? Or is this just sort of par for the course and what we've come to expect, where the Oilers goaltenders take a little while to get warm?
Well, if it takes a while to get warm, I don't know that I've ever felt like they've been warm. I mean, you mentioned Stuart Skinner, and yeah, he was certainly consistent, but was overplayed, and then that ended up hurting us in the playoffs last year. Is it right for Oilers fans to be concerned and worried about goaltending? Absolutely. This is more than a season now of inconsistent goaltending. In fact, it's like close to 4 or 5 years. I don't know that we've had consistent goaltending with the Edmonton Oilers since Connor McDavid was drafted. I mean, that's a bit hyperbolic, but you know what I'm saying here. Like, this has been an ongoing challenge for the Oilers for a long time. That being said, I think it discounts or undermines I don't know, it's not effort, but just what is required to win hockey games consistently in the NHL, which is just solid defensive play. Even in the game in which, they won, they destroyed Nashville. If you don't have Campbell standing on his head in the first 5-7 minutes of that game, stopping numerous 2-on-1s and very good, solid chances in front of him, you don't get the score that you get in that game. So for me, I really think about the quality of chances that they're giving up and the fact that this continues to be a problem. And I'm starting to wonder, Woodcroft has done a great job of unlocking the offensive potential of this team, but maybe he's not good enough as an NHL coach to unlock what's needed from a defensive side of the game.
Don't you rely on your assistant coaches for that kind of thing? Does that all rest on the head coach?
Well, ultimately they all report up, right? But that's maybe a bit of a hot take to come after Woodcroft here. But what's clear from last year was that there's a different level you need. You can't just outscore your mistakes in the playoffs and again in the NHL in general. The Oilers are the best team at outscoring their mistakes. They have the two best players in the world. And they're still not winning games. And there's a commitment or, an interest in playing that type of hockey that has not manifested in this team. And at this point, who else do you point at other than the coach?
I also think there's a big difference between making mistakes throughout the game and then making mistakes that lead to a loss, right? Because mistakes throughout the game, that will always happen, regardless of what team you are. Even the teams who are undefeated, the Vegas Golden Knights are still making mistakes, but they're winning games. It's the fact that they can't finish that will, if it continues, will become more and more of a problem.
I mean, what does Sutter always say? This is a 3-2 league. When's the last time the Oilers ever won a game 3-2? I can remember a lot of times where they've lost 3-2, including the last one, but I don't remember a time when they've won 3-2. When have they put up a solid defensive effort, defended a lead, or won a tight game like that? Now, there'll be off chance. You look at the schedule, there will be examples. And I'm being a bit, again, hyperbolic here. But it's a 3-2 league, and the Edmonton Oilers consistently those are the games you need to be able to win, and they haven't been able to demonstrate that they can do that. And whether that's goaltending, defensive play, the coach, structure, I don't know. That's not my job to figure out. But it's clear to me that that's the problem.
I just hope Connor doesn't come back too early. I mean, I know everybody's all hyped about this Heritage Classic thing, but if he comes back too early and this is a serious muscular problem, worse things will happen if he's not back at 100%.
All right, with that, let's leave it there. That's topic 1.
Wow, Jordan, we just said everything you agreed with?
No, I just didn't have anything to add.
Hey, podcast listeners. My name is Louise Campbell, and along with my co-host, former Olympic bobsledder Alicia Olson, I am so excited to introduce you to the Mother Pucker podcast. And if you love the Oilers like we do, you are going to love our show. It's just two gals who aren't afraid to drop the gloves and throw some hot takes about the boys in blue and orange. Whether you're a massive hockey fan like us or just looking for some new voices talking about the Oilers' blue line, or lack thereof, we promise the show is for you. So subscribe now and tell your friends. It's time for the Mother Pucker podcast.
Let's talk some baseball here. We're well on our way to having a proper matchup for the World Series. We have one team that's already punched their ticket. That is the Texas Rangers, who win their series 4-3 tonight with a dominant 11-4 victory in Game 7. And the Arizona Diamondbacks will force a Game 7 tonight, beating the Phillies 5-1. So we will see that game tomorrow, or I guess today, depending on when you're listening to this. We are recording this Monday. So the Diamondbacks Philly series also goes to 7. Certainly, if you're a baseball fan, you are getting a very full menu of games to consume throughout October, which is always what you want. But they are both of those two series, the championship series, have been pushed now to the brink. Let's start really quickly with the Rangers here, and I have sort of a funny one, again, being the most seasoned baseball fan and expert on the panel here. Here's a fun storyline for you. On December 21st, 2019, the Texas Rangers paid a nominal sum of cash for the St. Louis Cardinals for the rights to a 26-year-old outfielder with only 17 major league at bats. Only 17 major league at bats. They paid him a little bit of money. They took him off the Cardinals' hands. His name is Adolis.
Oh my God!
Help me here, Braden.
Garcia.
I got the Garcia part. How do you say the first name?
Adolis?
Adolis, Braden?
Adolis
Garcia, right? This kid just broke a record, set a new record, previously held by another Ranger, ironically, Nelson Cruz. He hit 14 RBIs in the championship series to set the new mark there. He's batting 357, 5 home runs, just phenomenal, 15 RBIs, phenomenal series for him. The Rangers, as you guys talked about the last time we talked about this, look very, very good, very, very dominant. So I don't think anyone here was surprised they won this series, but were you surprised, Braden, that it went to 7?
Yeah, I was surprised it went to 7 because I was still surprised the Rangers are as good as they are. The Houston Astros have been a dominant team even since their big garbage can gate era. I was surprised it went to 7. Absolutely. I'm more and more surprised with how deep this team gets. And then you forget that they started that game with Max Scherzer, like an absolute all-star, Hall of Fame ballot one day. They're loaded. The Texas Rangers are going to make it very difficult for whoever they play next in the World Series.
Now, the Rangers obviously won Game 6 to force Game 7. I have a theory in Game 7s where I would always rather be the team that forced the Game 7 than the team that was in the lead and let that Game 6 slip away, that chance to put the nail in the coffin, as it were. So when we turn to the other series, Elliot, we talked a lot about how good we thought the Phillies were. I think both you and Braden had the Phillies. I might be wrong in remembering that, but the Phillies obviously have
Tanty Poling had the Rangers.
No, sorry. Being in the World Series, though, I don't mean the Rangers. I meant Phillies. The Phillies. You had the Phillies in this World Series, did you not, Elliot? Was that not your pick?
No,
I doubt it. I don't think
we did.
He's
not going to say that now. No one's checking the tape, but they win Game 6 tonight. The question is, who do you think going into Game 7 has the upper hand here? Diamondbacks, Phillies.
Oh, you mean the Diamondbacks win? Yeah, no,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't hate your theory. I've never really thought about it that in depth, but I do think there is a certain advantage to the team that forces it. I mean, the tricky thing about that series is that it's in Philadelphia, and it's probably the hardest ball stadium to win as someone, as the visiting team. So that is what the Diamondbacks face. They were able to do it tonight, but it's a whole different thing to be able to do it in 2 games in a row. I think, the smart money's on the Phillies, but I watched the back half of that Diamondbacks game tonight, that first game tonight, and I actually was pretty impressed with what the Diamondbacks brought. So, I think it's a 50-50 split for me, but I think the smart money would still be on the Phillies and Braden's pick holding up. But I don't know that that's necessarily an easy decision.
Let's just never, ever let this podcast become a betting show, considering Elliot just said that a one game to win a series was 50-50. Yeah, no shit. That's how it works. Each team has an even shot before the first pitch is thrown of winning the baseball game. That's
Listen,
how
you go
this
to
works.
playalberta.ca and get proper odds on it. I bet you it's not.
Yeah, I bet you'd still make
Braden.
money if you bet on both of them.
Braden,
Hello.
you were very confident in the Phillies were going to have we're going to get themselves back into the World Series. They're obviously the defending champs. Arizona forces Game 7. Do you prescribe to my theory that the winner of Game 6 has the slight upper hand, at least sort of from a momentum or a psychological perspective, or do you still have faith in your Phillies?
Hold on a second. You got to go back and listen to the podcast the episode we released last week, because I never once said they were my Phillies. I said the Phillies would win this series, but I would like
Phillies. They're your pick. You
no,
picked them.
no. If you remember in the episode where I said the Phillies will win it, I prefaced by saying I wish the Arizona Diamondbacks would win this series.
All right.
And pick the Phillies to win the World Series, though. So in that way, you pick them in 2 series in a row. They kind of feel like your team.
All right, well, let's switch it up. I would like to prescribe to your theory. I would love to see this Arizona Diamondbacks team in the World Series. They haven't been there for a long time. And what's really fun about that is, just like the Texas Rangers, both Arizona Diamondbacks and the Rangers were absolutely sputtering at the end of the season. Like, they barely made it into the playoffs, and for both of those teams to make it into the World Series would be an absolute blast. A bunch of former Blue Jays as well. Moreno's having an absolute breakout postseason for the Diamondbacks. Catcher Gurriel Jr. is making his mark. I would love to see the Arizona Diamondbacks in the World Series.
You like that I knew that?
You know what?
You didn't acknowledge that I could tell you off the top of my head the last time the Diamondbacks were in a World Series. They lost to the New York Yankees in 2001.
Well, it was a 50-50 chance there that they would have been there. So
I don't think that's quite how that works, but I picked the year. I know.
Yeah, good for you.
They didn't win.
Picked it or looked it up?
No, I didn't look it up. I remember because it was after 9/11 and the Yankees won.
There you go.
I remember very vividly, very clearly.
Randy Johnson was
pitching
for the.
He was in those old purple, white, and black unis. All right, so
I just want to make a complaint. Like Garcia was going to be my hats off. So now you ruined that for me.
Make it Corey Seager.
For the first time, that's the first time
in the history of MVP this year.
This is the first time in the history of that show where we've not had a repeat. We've never had a repeat, and we've never had someone spoil someone's hats off.
We've never had a repeat hats off.
We've always come up with 3 different names. I've always tracked it because I used to pick 2 in case someone picked it, and I just don't.
Shoot.
Oh, you mean the 2 of us picked the same person? You don't mean someone hasn't been picked on different sequential
I don't
shows?
Remember that,
I think there are people who have been picked more than once. I feel like
the one that I'm picking now, I know I've done in the past. So.
Okay, there you go. Because I do feel like I feel like LeBron James has been picked more than once. I feel like,
but not at the same episode.
No, I understand now. Thank you for clarifying. Is there any final thoughts here on baseball? Anything you want to say to the Houston Astros as they lick their wounds and begin the very short off season? Because I think doesn't Pineapple League start in 2 weeks or something?
Grapefruit League.
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit League.
No, but
it's a tropical fruit. Who cares?
My Tanty polling prediction is still available. I picked the Rangers, and then I said the Rangers were going to sweep the World Series in 4 games. So
does that pick change depending on who the opponent is, or you just really didn't care? They're going to beat either of them.
Yeah, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the Diamondbacks. It'd be nice to see the Diamondbacks.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it'll be a 50-50 chance for them winning it.
Certainly better travel. Certainly better travel for the Rangers if they only have to go to Arizona. It's a much shorter flight from Arizona to Texas than it is from Texas to Philadelphia. Just saying.
We're just throwing down facts here on.
Well, I'm not wrong. It's also a lot colder in Philadelphia right now than Arizona and Texas. I'm saying it would be a much more comfortable World Series for both teams. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. Thank you very much. That was topic 2. Hey, football fans. The Ordinary Podcasting Network is very excited to welcome back for its second season, Running Down the Clock, presented by Puya Ricey and Tyler Walzak. These two football fans will sit down with you every Thursday of the NFL schedule to talk football. You can subscribe to Running Down the Clock anywhere you get your podcast. Okay. All right. Topic 3, hats off. Elliot's already had his spoiled. So
Well,
Elliot,
I've got a new one.
I'm ready. Let's go to you for your second one. Who do you got?
Well, this
The
is
backup. And
I
no
know.
offense to this person. He was not going to take his hat off to you, but now he will.
I'll tell you why, because I don't like repeating. But I'm going to repeat because I know I've done this one before. My hat this week goes off to Christine Sinclair, who announced this week that she is retiring from international soccer after a long and very distinguished career. I think for all of us who spent any time at that U18 women's event that was at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton some 20-something years ago, where she was the breakout star there, from that moment forward, she's catapulted onto the international stage. She's been a leader in women's sports and obviously the women's Canadian national team for a long time, at the forefront of driving issues of pay equity for women in sports, and also just being someone that, is a real stand-up individual, human being, and someone that, women across and people across this country have looked up to. And so my hat goes off to her for a remarkable career. And I think I speak on behalf of us when I say, well done, congratulations.
Very good one. That was your second choice.
But many Canadians first.
Braden, who are you taking your hat off to?
Okay, well, that was a great segue, Elliot, because from one incredible legend, Canadian legend, to a soon-to-be household name, I'm tipping my hat off to Afe DeFazio Ebert, Toronto teen who just won gold at the Pan American Games this last weekend in skateboarding. She's 13 years old, and she's really making her mark on the world of skateboarding. Fun fact about her: she wore a feather from her pet duck Richard in her helmet for good luck. So yeah, tip my hat to Faye DeFazio Ebert, who will soon be a household name in skateboarding, and possibly one day will be her name will be mentioned among other great Canadians, just like Christine Sinclair.
I did watch some of the Pan American Games skateboarding competition this weekend, weirdly enough. I wonder, is the next controversy in sports people faking ages because it turns out you're really good at a sport if you're young, like gymnastics, but also like skateboarding, you just like are really good if you're young?
Yeah, but that's already happened, Elliot. It's like that's like all of those kids who are in college, but they're really like 25, so that they can be
I mean, Jaromir Jagr is still productive.
The other one, okay, those are good. I thought you were going somewhere else where, like, is that the new controversy in sport where people start using like their pet ducks as sympathy to like get attention or whatever? But anyway,
not sympathy.
No,
good luck.
Just promotional.
Her pet duck Richard.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I will cap us off here by taking my cap off to Travis Dermott of the Arizona Coyotes, who in the home opener for the Arizona Coyotes went out and played with some pride tape on his stick, made a important and very powerful statement right off literally the puck drop of the NHL season, after all of the controversy surrounding the NHL's banning of pride tape and the pride and other sort of theme night jerseys, which was a very poorly timed, in my opinion, decision by the NHL. The way in which they handled it, much like many things Gary Bettman has done over the year, incredibly ham-handed and just an absolute, like, you could not possibly have done it in a less tactful, less appropriate, and less effective way. If the idea was to take attention away from making these players have to address these things, he did the absolute and categorically did the opposite of that. But that is not what I am here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Travis Dermott, who is an ally and has been so his entire career. He has proudly played multiple times with the pride tape on his stick in regular non-themed games throughout his time with both the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vancouver Canucks. He is now playing for the Coyotes, and he, when asked, said, "I've always supported the LGBTQ plus community. I will continue to do so. If they find me or they, suspend me or whatever they're going to do, I really don't care. I'm going to continue to do this. It's something that's important to me. It's no one else's decision but my own." And that was great. And I think that what is important in the message that sends is that at the end of the day, players in all sports, athletes in all sports, should always have space left for them to share their own opinions if they so choose, and equally they should be given space to choose not to if they so choose. And I think that is the bigger message that was lost in how this whole situation unfolded. We had a decision made based on 7 players in a league that has over 800, and it was just embarrassing. So I really appreciate Travis Dermott not shying away from something he'd already been supportive of and just continuing that allyship. So my hat goes off to him. My hat also goes off to the two of you. Thank you for giving us a little bit.
You can only have one, dude.
No,
just one.
No, this one's a ceremonial one, not official, unofficial. But I appreciate your time. I also appreciate all of our listeners' time. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you and talk to you next weekend.
That was hat trick.
Hat-Trick is a member of the Ordinary Podcasting Network. It's produced every week by Jordan Dowler Coleman and Braden Dowler Coleman. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.
The Ordinary Podcasting Network wishes to acknowledge that the lands on which our conversations take place include Treaty 6 territory, the traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, and the Nakota Sioux peoples, as well as the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations.
We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. And we extend our appreciation for the opportunity to live, create, and share stories on these territories.
The Ordinary Podcasting Network intends to engage in conversations and dialogue which acknowledge that reconciliation is not a destination, but a journey, and that we remain committed to practicing our craft in a decolonized space.